Hey, so I haven't uploaded a video in a while, but to be honest, when has that not been the case? I'm sure it's no secret to you that I'm a huge Halo fan, but I've never actually shared my opinions much on the Halo games themselves. There's been a lot of discussion surrounding Halo Infinite, and I've actually had a lot on my mind about this game lately, so I really just wanted to share my opinions on it. Before I do, I just want to give my quick thoughts on each Halo game, so I'm just going to do a quick speedrun review of each one. 3, 2, 1, go. Halo Combat Evolved. Fantastic game. Gameplay and AI still holds up to this day. Art style is my favourite in the series. Completely defined console first-person shooters. Campaign story is fairly bare bones, but still pretty good for what it was. Never played the multiplayer. Halo 2. Good game, but my least favourite of the trilogy. I didn't like the gameplay anywhere near as much as Combat Evolved. There was a lot of balancing issues. Story was incredible though, and was only held back by the fact that it ended on a cliffhanger. Never played the multiplayer. Halo 3. Brilliant game. Campaign is the best in the series. Story was great, although not quite as good as 2's because they turned the Prophet of Truth for being a smart and sinister foe into a dumbass. Gameplay was brilliant and really refreshing having the brutes be the main enemy. Only played a little bit of the multiplayer and enjoyed it. Halo 3 ODST. Good game, I like the gameplay and the story, but for some reason I just can't seem to find the energy to replay it. I think the pacing was a little too slow for my taste. Halo Reach. Great game. Campaign is not as interesting as the previous 3 games. Gameplay is in my opinion better than Halo 2's, but still could be better. Multiplayer is the best in the series, however I'm pretty biased because it was the first multiplayer I played so intensely. Halo 4, decent game. Campaign had a really good story, but the gameplay was an absolute slog for me and I just didn't really like fighting the Prometheans. Multiplayer was alright. Grifball was the only game mode I'd say really improved compared to its counterpart. I didn't like the rest of the multiplayer as much as Reach's, but I still played a lot of it when it was popular and had a good enough time. Halo 5. The only reason I'm not calling it a bad game was because of how good the multiplayer is in its current state. Campaign is absolutely terrible. The worst story out of any of the Halo games. Gameplay wasn't quite as boring as Halo 4's, but still boring nonetheless. Multiplayer was also boring when it first launched and had no interesting game modes. It's good in its current state, but I haven't played much of it. The pretty confusing ranking system and the abundance of microtransactions has destroyed my motivation to play it. I've also played a bit of Halo Wars, but it just wasn't for me. I later watched the cutscenes for Halo Wars and the sequel and enjoyed the story quite a bit. I haven't played the mobile games because I literally couldn't care less about them. Okay, that about sums up my thoughts on all the Halo games. So now, it's time for me to talk about Halo Infinite. For the past few years, I had been so hyped for the game before it was even called Halo Infinite, and everyone just assumed it'd be called Halo 6. I watched all the Halo YouTubers like Hidden Xperia, Late Night Gaming, The Ackman, etc. I was so invested in anything Halo related, and was especially excited for Halo Infinite, because it looked like 343 was finally starting to listen to fan feedback. I was more excited about the game than any other game coming out in the future. Now, it's probably not even in my top 10. I'm still kind of excited about it, but with all the announcements about the game and other stuff going on, I've just slowly stopped caring. I feel that it's partially due to the fact that it's taken us way too long to get any valuable Halo news. When the Halo Infinite gameplay came out, despite the controversies surrounding it, I actually really liked what I saw. The disappointing graphics only really put me off buying the Series X rather than the game itself. The thing I cared about was the gameplay, and that looked pretty good to me. The news that started to come after was what really put me off. First, there was an announcement not long after the gameplay footage that the game would be delayed to next year. This news didn't bother me at all, and I felt like it was definitely the right choice, as I'd prefer for them to delay the game rather than just releasing it in an unfinished state. But the big major red flag for me was what they announced after, that Halo Infinite's multiplayer was going to be a completely separate, free-to-play game. Honestly, I could see right through what they were doing, and the fact that they announced this as if it was really good news was basically the equivalent of them taking away my chocolate cake, and instead telling me with a big smile on their face that I get to have some dog poo with chocolate sprinkles on it. For those of you that don't understand why I think this is a bad thing, allow me to explain. The fact that the multiplayer is going to be free to play means that they have much more of an excuse to implement more egregious microtransactions. Say they decide to make the entire game basically pay to win. If I decide to complain about this, I guarantee you that someone is going to reply saying,
"Bruv, it's free, what do you expect?"
They don't have this sort of excuse if they simply include it with the campaign, because it comes part of the product that people have paid for. Therefore, people have much higher standards as to what the multiplayer should do. It's not like you're saving any money from it either, because those who want to play both the campaign and the multiplayer, which are probably most Halo fans, are still going to be paying the exact same amount. I am 100% sure that Halo Infinite is still going to be a full price game even without the multiplayer. In fact, I am so sure of this that I promise you, if 343 end up releasing the campaign for less than the full price, I will create a Fireteam Expendable OnlyFans account.
Hugo!
The only people this really benefits are the people that only care about the multiplayer, because they won't have to pay any money at all. And even then, they might end up paying more if the microtransactions are bad enough. I don't know many Halo fans that only care about the multiplayer. If you're that sort of person, then I'm really happy for you. But otherwise, this benefits no one except 343 and Microsoft. The idea behind my statement was all but confirmed later on when we found out that you'll basically not just have to pay for the armor your Spartan is wearing, but the color of the armor your Spartan is wearing. 343 announced that they were replacing the ability to change your primary and secondary color with a coating system. Now, the idea of this alone might have worked. I personally really liked how in the first Destiny game, colors you were wearing actually felt like you earned them. So as long as microtransactions weren't tied to coatings, I could actually see this being a pretty neat thing. I already knew that you were able to unlock coatings by buying promotional items, but I just hoped that they were exceptions. Unfortunately, a promotion of one of the items confirmed anything but that. The image basically confirmed that one of the coatings you can unlock will cost $5 once the game launches, basically indicating that a lot of the coatings are things that you buy. I'm sure there will be ways to earn them in game, but the fact that you can buy them in the first place just completely takes away the value of earning that item. The thing that has me even more concerned is the number 1 next to it, possibly indicating that these things will be one-time consumables like Destiny 2 did. I really hope that's not the case here. I think I'm just really starting to view the idea that 343 has changed is just a disguise, because I feel like if they really cared about what the fans think, they would have never considered doing anything like this. The last thing that ultimately is just really disappointing for me is their approach to the MCC. It's a fairly small gripe at the moment, considering the fact that the MCC is just a compilation of already existing games. But if it is an approach they decide to take to Infinite, I'll really not be happy. I don't like the fact that a lot of the interesting game modes in MCC are only temporary. I'm glad they didn't do this with Infection, but basically everything else that isn't Team Slayer or some variation of that is now something that will only occur occasionally. I can kind of understand why they did that with Griffball, because it has always been the easiest way to gain XP, but at the same time they could have just solved that problem by making it so that it earns you almost no XP compared to other modes. I prefer that to only having the ability to play the game mode sometimes, but there's absolutely no excuse as to why they're doing this to basically every other interesting game mode. And it's not like they do it with just the interesting ones. They even do it with game modes that are often really dull. Like, one is literally just Team Slayer, but with randomized weapons. So it's not like you're guaranteed to get a good game mode when a limited time one's out. I just really hate the fact that if I want to play a certain game mode on the MCC, I'll only be able to play it some of the time. This is something they did with Halo 5's multiplayer as well, apparently. If they do this with Halo Infinite, I'm probably just not going to play the multiplayer at all. 343 just needs to make it so that when they come up with a game mode, it is there to stay, and people can play it whenever they want to. Those are really all of my main concerns. The only other minor concerns I have are 343's track record of blocking a lot of people. A lot of the people they've blocked 100% deserved it, but some of these people were just giving perfectly valid criticism and didn't have any bad intentions whatsoever. The combination of all these things have just slowly killed my enthusiasm for Halo Infinite over time. I'm still kind of excited about the campaign, and that is really the thing I care the most about, but I'm just worried that they're going to do what they did with Halo 5, where they just rushed the campaign and focused on the multiplayer more. But I guess time will tell. Anyway, that's all I really wanted to say. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, and make sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell if you haven't already. I also want to give a shout out to Haya for being a Patreon supporter for these past few months. It really means the world to me. If you guys want to hear about how my progress is going for Fireteam Expendable Season 2, I am currently posting fairly frequent updates about it on my Patreon, so please consider supporting me there. Donating as little as $1 a month will honestly mean the world to me. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and peace out.